You started off by stating in para 1 that critical evaluation skills, that they have never been more important because we are now inundated with information and data at work and at home in our online and physical interactions, right? And then you go on to para 2, where you describe some of National Library Board's efforts in public education and info literacy for school, for work, and for play. Could you share and elaborate a bit on these efforts?
So, libraries all across the world promote information literacy, and that is a very core part of libraries' work. Similarly, National Library takes this duty very, very seriously. After all, we are knowledge and information professionals, and we want to make sure that consumers of information know what is right and what might be wrong and fake. In terms of this whole piece of work, we felt that we needed to demystify what it means to be information literate. Because the word information literacy is a very, very long phrase, and it can be extremely confusing to others. So we broke it down into 4 steps that can be taken, and they fall into the acronym or S.U.R.E. So S stands for source, which means, is your source reliable? Is your source credible? How do you know? And then understand is understanding existing biases, whether something is a fact or an opinion. And then, is that all you want to take, or should you do deeper research? So research, R stands for research, which means go deeper, find out more, check other sources as well. And then the last is evaluate, critically evaluate what you have in front of you. This piece of work has been done for many years, but we've been intensifying it over the last six years. And certainly we started with schools because schools are foundational. The students go to school, they are the future of Singapore. They also have a very natural platform to apply these skills because they do have to turn in homework, they have to do thesis, they have to do writing. There's so many things that they can naturally practice these skills. We've been working so closely with the Ministry of Education to incorporate the S.U.R.E principles into the syllabuses, especially the social studies syllabus, and we continue to have very close partnership and conversations with the ministry. Then when we thought about this, we think that there is also a value proposition for bringing S.U.R.E into the workplace. After all, there is an argument to be made that workers in this information age must be more reliable. They must be seen as reliable and trusted sources of information when they present things at work. We are adopting the similar approach as we did with MOE, work with institutions who care about this and who think that it is very important to infuse these skills into the curriculum, into what they already offer to their community. Thinking about institutions like NTUC, People's Association, Civil Service College, as well as Skills Future Singapore, because these are institutions that care about learning and lifelong learning at that. And we feel that that's a very, very important component that must go into the whole lifelong learning landscape. And of course, with these 4 principles, can we just be confined to school and work? Surely these can be taken into the whole of life itself. Whenever we come across a newspaper article, an offer that seems too good to be true, a cure for cancer, these are things that are opportunities for us to say, hey, let's take a moment and think about what's the source and apply these very, very simple steps in order to give ourselves some time before we jump to conclusions.
Did I remember my mom telling me, when it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
It's too good to be true, yes. You need to be sure.
Yes. I think information literacy, like financial literacy, is a very important life skill that we
Indeed.
like all of us to have, and it starts at a young age. Yes. One of the approach that you mentioned, and this comes under your S.U.R.E 2.0 campaign, you included one of which includes conducting talks for seniors. Can you elaborate why this is important? What will be covered in these talks? And what are some of the challenges reaching out to seniors?
I think senior citizens are a particularly vulnerable group. They have a lot of respect for what is published. whether it's online or whether it's hard copy. And they tend to think that because it's published, it must be true. So the challenge for them is to help them to be discerning, like what can they believe, what can't they believe. In terms of talks for seniors, one of the things that we're realizing is that while the S.U.R.E messages can be simple, they need to be unpacked further for seniors. It has to be contextualized for themselves as well, in terms of their daily life, what they meet. And quite often, there'll be things like health scams, financial scams as well. In terms of the talks, we hope to be able to leverage these everyday examples, which they're familiar with, and then put it in that context for them, and to simplify the messages further so that it becomes very real and accessible to them as well.
And you went on to say to develop false multipliers by working with organizations on their public campaign. When you talk about false multipliers, what do you have in mind?
We are talking about institutions, an institution-wide approach, where we can also use this train-the-trainer model so that we can train their advocates in order to spread the message further and to spread it deeper into the organization as well.
Okay, and then towards the end of that page, under para 2, you say that you will promote information literacy to build public confidence, to tackle fake news, and to break the cycle of perpetual rumors. Can you explain how public education will help in that respect?
Just now, one of the speakers actually talked about how, whilst the public is very concerned about fake news, they don't seem to know how to discern and what to do about it. So there is a sense of helplessness. Whilst they know and they're concerned that there's all this false information, they don't know what steps to take. By educating the public, by sharing with them the sure steps, we hope that they find that there's efficacy, there's agency, they can do something about it, they can practice these things, they can really work towards getting themselves out of this situation where they feel that they're at the mercy of people who just dispense information to them. So we think that education is a very, very important part to equip the public.
I did say I want to keep my session short, so one final point. Do you think public education alone is sufficient to combat deliberate online falsehoods?
The landscape is so complex that there is no silver bullet. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. And more is increasingly clear that it takes a concerted effort of the public, the people, the private sectors working together, governments, media agencies, tech companies, and every one of us, really, to think of what we can do to make a stand against false news and fake news and falsehoods, and to make sure that we are part of the solution and not the problem.
Indeed, in many other organizations and experts that we've talked to over the last week and up to today, I think there's general, in fact, broad agreement that public education is a very key part of the overall system of measures that we need to, that the select committee needs to consider and incorporate in our deliberations.